So that gives you kind of the antithesis to what we were talking about earlier, showing the necessity of college in today's society. So now that we've looked at both points, tried to get somewhat of a fair representation of either side of the argument. Let's talk about whether or not you guys think that college is worth the investment when it comes down to it. Do you think that it's worth putting in $60,000 a year, or we've looked at the lower end as well? In the end, is college the right choice?
Well, that's depending on a lot of things, like what are you planning on studying? If you're studying on becoming an engineer, civil engineer, any kind of thing that requires a diploma to even get hired or even be able to send in an application, and you're serious about it, then it's definitely important to get an education like that. But if you are going into like the arts, and I don't want to say anything bad about this, but psychology, there's not many places that will hire you right off, because you really have to be good at what you do, and you really have to be serious about what you do. And so it may not be as worthwhile if you're learning about something and going in for a degree in something that's not used on a regular basis or as important as engineering or anything like that.
Well, see, you brought it. Like there are some areas, some future careers where it is really important to have that college degree, and I agree with you on that. You're saying though that for some others maybe not so important, but the problem is that for most of those careers that you're saying it's not as important to have that college education. They still require a degree for you to have a good shot at getting a job. So then the question is that fair? Is it fair for employers to have such a heavy emphasis on the college degree when, as Hayden's kind of saying here, maybe it's not so important that you have the degree as long as you have got the education, the knowledge outside of necessarily a school or institution?
Well, I think that what it comes down to is at this point in time, where you get that knowledge is from a university or from a college. Like, you're not going to find tons of information, at least in my opinion, sufficient enough to become a psychologist without going to college. And if I'm going to go see a psychologist, I want them to have a college degree. I want them to have studied the mind, and I want them to have that education as a background. And I think it comes from the fact that now people are expecting more out of the people that we go to, out of the doctors, out of our psychologists, out of our dentists. We're expecting more from them, and therefore employers have to expect more from their employees, and that comes from the fact that now, in order to expect more, they need to have a college degree.
But then again, if you're planning on singing for your career, is it as important to be in a classroom learning that way? Do you think you could learn outside of classes, just teaching yourself and maybe having some fundamental lessons in school, like you're in choir or something like that?